Yemen just declared war on Israel. Yes, you heard that right. We're going to get into what that means for Israel and for the region. The IDF made major gains in the northern Gaza stronghold of Jabaliya, killing 50 terrorists in the process. And we have a crazy video showing you just how huge the Hamas terror tunnels are in Gaza. Stay tuned. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. First off, make sure to subscribe here on YouTube or wherever you're watching. We'll continue to keep you updated on the news, on the facts of the ground, as soon as we can get them, about what is happening here in Israel. There's a lot of craziness going on in Israel. You can also join our breaking news Telegram channel. You can click the link in the description below if you want to stay up to date with more quick news. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms. Stay up to date with the most accurate information coming out of Israel. We are experiencing some censorship, so you can follow us wherever we're still up. A couple weeks ago, Instagram suspended our Israel Guys account, but then after some pressure, we were put back up online. And then just today, our Hayuvel volunteer YouTube channel was suspended with no reason other than we had violated their community guidelines. I have no idea what we did to violate their community guidelines. Anyways, we're going to jump into what is happening. The IDF is still operating in Gaza. Israel just entered the 4th week of the war with Hamas. The war is now being called Swords of Iron. Still striking strong. The IDF is striking strong as Hamas still, even though the mainstream media, the world media is not talking about it a lot, Hamas is still continuing to rain down hundreds of rockets on Israel. It seems to me that the IDF is doing everything they can in Gaza without actually doing a full-scale ground invasion. They're not officially calling it a ground invasion. U.S. was requesting that they don't do a full-scale ground invasion, and I think there would be a lot of world pressure if Israel was actually doing it. However, the IDF is still going into Gaza, striking different terror targets, and they're striking very strong. Last night, they struck the Jabaliya refugee camp in Gaza and eliminated the commander of Hamas's central Jabaliya battalion, Ibrahim Biari. They also they killed a bunch of other terrorists along with him. The Gaza Interior and Health Ministries, they claimed that hundreds of people were killed and injured in this strike. Now, is this true? One thing to consider when seeing numbers being put out of Gaza by the Gaza Health Ministry, by the Interior Ministry, is these organizations, these ministries, they're all being run by Hamas. And I don't know about you, but I don't think we have the obligation to take the word of baby murderers. We don't have to listen to them. They murdered people. It shouldn't be surprising that they would also lie as well. Most of the time, their numbers are very skewed. Remember, just 2 weeks ago, they claimed that Israel had bombed the hospital and killed 500 people, and then it was later proved that it was not Israel that bombed this hospital, that it was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket that had misfired and landed on the hospital, landed in the parking lot, next to the hospital. Yet, here is how CNN reported this strike on the refugee camp. All they said was, deadly Israeli airstrike hits Gaza's largest refugee camp. See if they'd change that headline within the next day. Very possible. The IDF says the airstrike in Jabaliya was part of a wide-scale strike on Hamas operatives and infrastructure belonging to the terror group's central Jabaliya battalion. They said, quote, the strike damaged Hamas's command and control in the area, as well as its ability to direct military activity against IDF soldiers operating throughout the Gaza Strip. It says numerous terrorists were killed with BRE, and underground terror infrastructure embedded beneath the buildings used by the terrorists also collapsed after the strike. The IDF says it also, quote, reiterates its call to the residents of the area to move south for their safety. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, he says fighting in the Gaza Strip is becoming more complex as troops operate deeper into the Hamas-run territory. He said, and I quote, "This is complex face-to-face combat. In the fierce battles that took place today, we lost troops." They said 9 IDF soldiers were unfortunately killed in the battles the last couple days. Are you the kind of person who looks to the timeless wisdom of the Hebrew Bible for guidance during challenging times? Are you passionate about uncovering the profound truths hidden within sacred scriptures, especially when the world around us is in turmoil? Well, I have something extraordinary to share with you today. The Israel Bible is not just another version of the Hebrew Bible. It's a window into the connection between the scriptures, the Holy Land, and our lives. Whether you're a Jew or a Christian like me who is seeking insight and inspiration amid the ongoing challenges in Israel, this is a revelation you do not want to miss. The Bible is not just history. It's about what's happening in our world in the here and now. The Israel Bible commentary illuminates God's focus on the land of Israel, explaining why the fate of humanity rests on this one small country. Imagine holding a resource that combines the original Hebrew text with clear, accurate English translations. The Israel Bible brings these ancient words to life like never before. And guess what? It's not just for scholars or theologians. With profound commentary by Rabbi Tuli Weiss and other Orthodox Jewish teachers, it's designed for people like me and you, the curious seeker, the faithful believer, the one who yearns to find comfort and peace during these challenging moments. What sets the Israel Bible apart is its unique approach to understanding God's promises and prophecies for the end of days. If you're eager to deepen your connection with God's Word in the Holy Land, then the Israel Bible is for you. Click the link in the description below to learn more and buy the Israel Bible today. The news is true. Yemen has declared war on Israel. The Houthi-run proxy state of Yemen has officially declared war on Israel. Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari, I'm sure I completely said that name completely wrong, he said in a televised statement the group had launched a, quote, large number of ballistic missiles and drones toward Israel, and there would be more such attacks to come to help the Palestinians to victory. The Yemeni armed forces confirmed that they will continue to carry out qualitative strikes with missiles and drones until the Israeli aggression stops. So they are siding with the Palestinians and entering the war against Israel. According to Reuters, Yemen's Houthis have waded into the Israel-Hamas war, raging more than 1,000 miles from their seat of power in Sana'a, declaring on Tuesday they had fired drones and missiles at Israel in attacks that highlight the regional risks of the conflict, part of an axis of resistance backed by Iran. The Houthis have rallied behind the Palestinians since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, opening a new front for a movement that has waged war for 8 years with a Saudi-led coalition in the Gulf. Now, what is this axis of resistance? Basically, it's Iran's terrorist proxy groups in the Middle East, the Houthis group, which is the terrorist organization, basically running the government of Yemen. So it's the Houthis group, Hezbollah, which is controlling Lebanon, some Iraqi militaries, and Hamas. These are all part of this axis of resistance, Iran's terrorist proxy groups in the region. So the Houthis group, Yemen, they have declared war on Israel. Before this announcement of war yesterday, the IDF, they used their aerial defense system to shoot down a surface-to-surface missile fired at Israel by the Houthis from Yemen. The IDF said, quote, IAF Israeli Air Force detection systems tracked the trajectory of the missile, which was successfully intercepted by the Arrow aerial defense system at the optimal operational moment and location. The IAF thwarted an aerial threat in the area of the Red Sea, the first operational interception by the Arrow aerial defense system since the beginning of the war. So Yemen fired a missile earlier in the day. The IDF took it down, and then Yemen declared war officially on Israel. The Pentagon's press secretary, Pat Ryder, acknowledged the Houthi fire targeting Israel, suggesting the rebels had missiles able to reach some 2,000 kilometers. Crazy. He said, quote, "This is something we will continue to monitor. We want to prevent a broader regional conflict." I think everyone wants to prevent a broader regional conflict. And he said, yeah, they want to prevent a larger broader regional conflict. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a World War III. We'll see what happens in the coming days, but just so you know who we're dealing with, this terrorist organization, the Houthis rebel group, their slogan, literally their slogan that they chant is this. It's Allah is the greatest. Death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews, victory to Islam. So it is not just Israel that they're coming against. It is also America. Yemen, unfortunately, is not the only one that is standing against Israel right now. Bolivia also just announced that they are cutting off all diplomatic ties with Israel. Deputy Foreign Minister Freddy Mamani said Bolivia, quote, has decided to break diplomatic relations with the Israeli state in repudiation and condemnation of the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive taking place in the Gaza Strip. What would you do? What would you do if a terrorist organization on your border came in, sent thousands of their terrorists into your country, sent them in to murder, to kill, to rape your people? What would you do? Would you just sit idly by and let them do that? Or would you respond with force like the IDF is doing and like one of the most moral armies in the world is doing? I think the IDF is using way less force than any other country of the world would. Mamani added that Bolivia was calling for a ceasefire and an end to the, quote, the blockade that prevents the entry of food, water, and other essential elements for life. No, we cannot have a ceasefire. Later in the day, the president of Chile, he announced that they were recalling its ambassador to Israel for consultation, citing Israeli, quote, violations of international humanitarian law in the Gaza Strip. What about the violations of humanitarian international law? What about the Hamas violations? Them literally going in and killing the innocent civilians, the innocent people of Israel. The president of Chile, he said on Twitter, quote, Chile strongly condemns and observes with great concern these military operations. And then a little bit later, the Colombian president said on Twitter that his country had recalled its ambassador to Israel over its war in Gaza. He said, quote, I have decided to recall our ambassador to Israel. If Israel does not stop the massacre of the Palestinian people, we cannot stay there. And yes, this comes days after 122 United Nations voted in favor of an anti-Israel resolution calling for a ceasefire. A ceasefire is not an option. Only 13 nations did the right thing. 13 countries who are part of the United Nations, only 13 did the right thing and sided with Israel's right to defend themselves against the brutal Hamas terrorists. Guys, as we close out the show today, I wanted to play you this video, show you the extent, the enormity of the Hamas terror tunnels, just show you a little bit what we're dealing with, what the IDF is dealing with as they're going into Gaza. So Hamas, they gave access to a Russia Today journalist, and they let him down into their tunnels to be able to see the enormity, the extent of their tunnels. Watch this.
من هنا تبدأ الرحلة، رحلة الدخول إلى ما تحت أرض غزة. حبل يمثل الحد الفاصل بين الحياة المدنية وأخرى عسكرية يصنعها عناصر سرايا القدس مترا بمتر. نحن هنا في واحد من أعمق الأنفاق الهجومية التابعة لسرايا القدس، الذراع العسكري لحركة الجهاد الإسلامي. 60 مترا تحت الأرض عمليا. بالطبع الجدران هي من الإسمنت بالإضافة إلى السقف المقوس والذي يمنح هذه الأنفاق قوة كبيرة جدا. والمعلومة التي عرفتها ربما للمرة الأولى أن الأرضية أيضا هي من الإسمنت. الفصائل بشكل عام تتابع كل أنشطتها العسكرية من هذه الأماكن. تؤكد السرايا أن جهوزيتها عالية لردع إسرائيل. تقول وحدة النخبة إن وظيفة هذه
absolute craziness right there. Huge tunnels. He's just walking there in the midst of these Hamas terrorists, these PIJ terrorists. Absolute craziness. Shows how huge and how crazy these tunnels down in Gaza are. Guys, in conclusion, as the world seems to be coming against Israel more and more, we all have to make a choice. Make the choice to stand with Israel and to be on the right side of history. Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8, the Bible says, "For he who touches Israel touches the apple of God's eye." Guys, I don't know about you, but it's a scary thing to be messing with the apple of God's eye. Guys, continue to pray for Israel. Pray for the IDF to have strength as they're going into Gaza, doing these operations, striking these terrorists, rooting out these evil Hamas terrorists. Don't forget to subscribe. Get the conversation going down below. We love to interact with you there. And as always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.